Welcome students. So in the process of learning about the technical analysis of the projects, or maybe in case of the new proposals or the new ventures, now the next thing we will learn about is the plant layout. Plant layout plays a very important role because layout of the plant has to be maybe most consistent with the other requirements or maybe the other possibilities, and we have to lay out the plant in such a way that it becomes very easy to use and to maybe maximize the say output against the given input, so that the total performance of the plant improves, and overall maybe the production quality, cost of production and everything remains under control. So in this process, when you decide the plant layout, in the new ventures especially, and that too in the manufacturing firms, because plant plays a very important role. It's a manufacturing organization, it's a manufacturing firm. A product has to be manufactured and it has to come out of the plant. So in that case, we have to make sure that there are certain important considerations which are borne in mind. And first important consideration is the consistency with the production technology, because production technology is very important say aspect of the overall plant layout, or maybe the manufacturing process is something which is very important. The technology which is very important concept, or maybe the component of the overall plant management. So any product coming out of that plant or maybe from that venture has to be the maybe the best in the class, and that only is possible if you are going to use the best production technology. And whatever the technology we are going to use, maybe for manufacturing the say components and subcomponents and then assembling the product into the finished unit or the final units, or maybe we are say simply assembling components which are imported from the other countries or maybe bought as a intermediate products from the other firms. Even in that case also we require some production technology, and that has to be the latest and that has to be the best one. So plant layout, when we are going to decide, that should be as per the technology requirement, and sequencing is very important thing. So the one step, the material at the one step should be moving to the next step, and from that step to the next step. So in this process, total sequencing has to be decided in such a way that finally that raw material is entered from the one side and the finished product goes out from the other side, and in between there are no interruptions. And production technology is also the efficient and the latest one, and plant layout has also been maybe worked out or maybe designed in such a way that it's maybe as per the technology requirements. So it happens in a very you can call it as a meticulous situation, that overall production coming out of the plant becomes very good, good in the quality. Maybe you can control the cost also, and if the cost is under the control, the price can also be controlled. So consistency with the production technology is the first and the foremost requirement of the plant layout. It has to be a very means consistent with the say technology. The plant layout has to be very consistent with the technology, and this is the one important requirement. Second thing is the smooth flow of the goods from the one stage to the other. So smooth flow of the goods from one stage to the another is as I was talking to you, something called as the sequencing from the one stage to the another stage. So that's called as sequencing. And if the sequencing is good, in that case the wastage time is not there. Wastage of time, wastage of the material, or maybe other resources can be avoided. And finally, the material moves from the one stage to the other stage in a very smoother manner, and the smooth flow of the goods from the one stage to another stage, and that right kind of the sequencing helps to minimize the wastage time or maybe the production time, and overall operating cycle of the firm gets down. So our objective has to be that the operating cycle for the firm has to be as low as possible, so that we can complete maximum operating cycles in a given period of time. Maybe you talk it as a month, or maybe you talk it as a 2 months, or maybe the 6 months or a year or anything. So the total number of operating cycles we are completing in that period are maximum. And if the number of operating cycles are maximum, naturally production would be accordingly, the plant capacity would also be used in the same manner, and finally the cost of production can be kept under control. So many companies, for example Toyota systems, when you study the Toyota systems, so there the smooth flow of the goods from the one place to another place plays a very, very critical role in any kind of the manufacturing process, whether it's a Toyota, it's any other car manufacturing company or any other company into any manufacturing process. When they are manufacturing a product and smooth flow of the material from the one place to the other place is ensured, in that case, it gives the multifarious benefits, and the quality of the product also improves. The wastage time, or you call it as the wastage of resources, can also be avoided, and the cost of production can also be kept under control. And finally, the product coming out of that kind of the system would be best in the quality and manageable in the price. So this is the second important consideration, which is called as a smooth flow of the goods from the one stage to the another stage. So plant layout has to be decided accordingly. Proper utilization of the space is another important consideration, because space is something which is very, very critical resource. These days we are the space is getting lesser and lesser, and we are not able to find the sufficient space for housing the industrial units. Even in the industrial areas also, designated industrial areas also, the space provided by the say controlling body of the industrial area is always a question and always a limiting factor. So whatever the space is available with us, whether we have created it ourselves or we have hired the space, or maybe we have erected some sheds and some buildings, always there is a paucity of the space, and we have to use the space in such a manner that it gives us a kind of a best utilization of the space. Because in that you have to house many equipments, many machines. So if you are able to make the proper utilization of the space, so what will happen that in the minimum space you will have created maximum production facilities, and those production facilities would be helping us to have the best kind of the production. Sequencing will be better, consistency will be better, and maybe within the minimum space will be able to have the maximum output. So proper utilization of the space is also another important consideration when you are designing the plant. So if the plant layout is efficient, smoother, and whatever the given space, it has been properly utilized, so the overall cost of the production goes down, and within the minimum space, whether it's owned space or rented space, within the minimum or the given space, we are able to have the best results, best outputs, and we are able to manage the cost. Scope for the expansion is another important consideration. Yes, we have to, because we are not going to remain a static organization. We are going to grow over a period of time. Initially, maybe we understand that the production level will be lower because the product is new in the market, or we are first mover in the market with the product. So people may not understand it, that how to use it, whether to buy it or not to buy it. But over a period of time, when people start buying it and product becomes a popular sort of the say introduction in the market, or maybe the product in the market, so capacity utilization also increases. Existing capacity, maybe initially it may be 40 to 50% of capacity we are utilizing. Over a period of time, we can increase the capacity to 60, 70, 80, 90. A point will come when the 100% capacity would be exhausted, and then we have to expand that plant or maybe the existing facility. So for that purpose, there must be sufficient space and scope for the expansion. Maybe within the given plot size, or maybe within the given plant area, or maybe within the given space, or maybe adjacent to that. Or maybe if we are not getting the appropriate space adjacent to the existing plant, we have to buy a piece of land at some other place and we have to expand it. So if that kind of the situation arises, why not to keep the scope in the beginning itself? Why to means to create a situation that tomorrow we are able to, or we want to, or we are in a position to expand, but we don't have the space. Our product is like the best in the market. People want to buy it, and whatever the existing capacity that has been fully exhausted, and for the additional capacity we don't have the sufficient space to house the second plant, or maybe to have a plant of the bigger capacity. So always we have to keep the scope for expansion in the beginning, and tomorrow in any case, if the expansion or maybe the growth is desired, then we should be able to house that bigger size of the plant or additional plant, or maybe the second set of the plant, or anything like that. Next thing is the minimization of the production cost. Now, how the production cost would be minimized? This is a $1 million question. This would be minimized if these first 4 steps have been properly taken care of. Then the cost of production would be minimized. When we are having the technology which is the best and our plant layout is also consistent with the technology, so it means we are going to have the best technology and plant size is also appropriate, and when the plant layout has been decided, that's the most scientific one. Second thing is, goods flow is very smooth from the one stage to the another stage and another stage to the another stage. When raw material is being added from the first say the step of the process, and when it moves to the second, third or the fourth step, the flow is very smooth. So there is no wastage of time, there is no wastage of resources, and there is no wastage of any kind of material or anything. So smooth flow of the goods and goods from one stage to another stage would be the another important say component, or maybe the consideration which would be helping us to minimize the cost of the production. Proper utilization of the space also, it's a very important component, and space also has a cost these days, and especially when it's the rented space, and we have to have a space of a certain size, but we hire the space of a bigger size, we pay more rent. So what will happen? As a maybe the rent as a cost, when we are showing it is in a revenue expense in the profit and loss account or income statement as an revenue expense. Rent is a revenue expense because so overall it will be recovered from the total production and sales we are making in the market. So because of the increased rental cost, our revenue cost will increase, cost of production will increase, and as a result of that, overall cost of production per unit of the product will also go up. And then you talk about the scope for the expansion. If we are not able to expand, we are not able to enjoy the economies of the large scale production. In that case, what will happen? Your production cost will not be possible to be minimized. So minimizing the cost of the production, you have to have all these first four steps, and finally we should go for the production accordingly, so that our cost of production remains as low as possible. If you are able to control the production, you will be able to control the price, and the product will be of the very good quality. So if both these say you call it as the say attributes are attained, say for example product is of the best quality and it's not priced accordingly appropriately, so it means it will find a good place in the market, acceptability from the market, acceptability from the people, and finally the firm will keep on growing. For example, when we are repeatedly talking about all these washing powders, and Nirma when came to the market for the first time, so the manufacturers always say kept in the mind that we have to give the best product which is comparable to Hindustan Unilever's products, and we have to keep in mind the price also. When they met both these requirements, quality was also appropriate, price was also very much reasonable, so people accepted the products, and finally it became a very good success story. It challenged the existing multinational company Hindustan Unilever, and finally cheaper range of the washing powders became a movement. So that kind of the movement can be had in the market, and we can create that kind of the situation, and people may get idea that if we go into this kind of the ventures, people like to have the products of this kind, provided they are of the good quality and at the reasonable price. And last thing is, plant layout must ensure the safety of the human resources or the personnel working in the plant, because that's another important consideration these days. So you have to have all safety measures in the plant. Deciding initially, safety measures are very important. You have to keep the space safe for the people who are working in the plant, or the human resources or the personnel working in the plant, and we have to create a very congenial environment, thus say environment full of safety for the people working in the plant. And one another important requirement which we discussed in the previous lecture also, that is the environmental friendly plants, right? Or maybe sometime the plants are environmental friendly, or maybe they cause the minimum pollution, but layout of the plant is such a defective layout that it increases the pollution coming out of, or the effluents coming out of the plant, and it affects the larger sections of the society. So we have to decide the layout of the plant in such a way that even number one, there should be no pollution, but in any case, if there is going to be a pollution, that pollution can be minimized or can be maybe avoided if the plant layout is properly decided. Maybe, for example, if the effluents coming out of the plant are properly treated, and after treating, if they are mixed into or maybe diverted towards the areas which are not in use by the humans. So in that case, the pollution component, number one, it is minimized and it's not affecting the larger sections of the society or the humans. So that thing can be taken care of. So all these important things, you think about it, that is the plant layout considers the consistency with the production technology, smoother flow of the goods from one stage to another, proper utilization of the space, scope for the expansion so that cost of production can be brought down by enjoying the economies of large scale production, and ultimately the objective is to produce the products of the good quality at a reasonable price, and that will happen only if the cost of the production is minimum or maybe kept under control. That will happen only if the first four things are taken into account, and lastly the safety and environmental protection. All these things are important for us. So plant layout is a very important component of the technical analysis, and we have to be very careful while deciding the plant layout. We have to have the layout in such a way which gives us the best of the say output, and we are able to manage the production facility in the best possible manner. So this is a very important requirement. Plant layout is a very important consideration and requirement of the overall technical analysis. And while deciding the layout of the plant, we should hire the best of the people, or maybe sometime we can give the turnkey projects to the plant suppliers or to the machinery suppliers or to the technology suppliers, so that they can build the plant for us. Maybe it's a small or big, it doesn't make a difference. So they should come, they should build the plant for us and under the turnkey process, and they can hand over the keys to us, and we can make use of the plant at the later stage or maybe when it becomes functional. At the same time, they should train our human resources also, so that whatever that technology, machinery or the plant we have decided to have, that is operational at the hands of the local people, and they are able to take care of the production process and the overall manufacturing process and the plant of the firm. So we have to be very careful while deciding the plant layout, and it's an important consideration as far as the technical analysis of the projects or the new ventures is concerned. Next thing is the schedule of the project implementation. This is another requirement, scheduling. Scheduling is a very important requirement of the project implementation, that how to schedule the implementation process. And it's a very critical component of the technical analysis like other components. And as it is mentioned here, that as a part of the technical analysis, a project implementation schedule is always prepared, not usually, but always it is prepared. For preparing the project implementation schedule, the following information is required. We have to arrange the following information. We have to make sure that this following information is available with us. And as far as this information is available with us, we have to go for listing of all the possible activities from project planning to the commencement of the production. So because normally we start with the planning, right? When we go for say idea conception, or maybe when we generate the idea of manufacturing some product, generating some service, or maybe say having some venture into the maybe the services sector or e-commerce say segments or sectors, that is a planning stage. So when we start planning, we finally have number of alternatives in our mind, and finally we arrive at one alternative, that this project is going to give me the maximum value and I have to go for it. So there we start working closely on the ideas which are the most say feasible, or you call it as implementable ideas, and finally the commencement of the production starts at the later stage. When we accept that idea, we plan for that, we accept it, we go for preparation of the detailed project feasibility report, we go for the market and demand analysis, we go for the technical analysis, and after procuring all your technical know-how, your plant, land, building, machinery, everything, we arrive at a stage where you have to go for the commencement of the production, right? So right from the planning to the say commencement of the production, there has to be a proper scheduling of the activities. There are number of activities involved. Normally we have the different kind of the techniques also, that the PERT and CPM you must have heard about, but they are in operation, or they are of use when actually the production starts. But initially when we start thinking about setting up of a venture, so that's the project planning stage. And when we pass through the different stages, different analysis, different stages, and finally we arrive at a situation when we have to we have already built up a plant, we have already given a shape to the plant, and we have to commence the production. So at that stage, we have to go for a proper scheduling, because if you go for proper scheduling of the project implementation process, it saves a lot of wastages and gives us a reason to maximize the efficiency, and within the minimum resources we are able to maximize the output, right. So productivity of the firm also increases, right. Scheduling also helps us to increase the productivity and to have the best output of the given minimum input. So in this entire process, the 3-4 steps are involved, and the first step involved is the sequence in which the various activities have to be performed. This has to be very carefully decided. Sequence in which the different activities have to be performed. Now we have already built up the plant. We already have that land, plant, building and machinery in place, and now we are going to put on the production process. So there, as we saw in the plant layout, here also in the scheduling, sequencing is very important thing, that how the different activities will be performed. Number one, that we will first of all buy the raw material, and that raw material will come and will go to the this godown or warehouse, you call it as. From the warehouse, it has to be released as per the requirement of the plant or the manufacturing process, and then it has to go from the one stage to another stage, another stage to another stage, and finally it has to come out as a finished product. And then it has to be packed, and after packaging, either it will go to the market or it will go to the finished goods warehouse. So sequencing is very important. It helps us to minimize the wastage of resources, time, money, raw material, everything, human resources. It helps us to minimize the wastages of any kind, and we have to be very careful in sequencing all those activities. The next thing is, the next important thing in the scheduling of the project implementation schedule is the time required for performing various activities. We should measure the time, and we should attain the optimum time estimates, so that within the optimum time we are able to manufacture the product, give shape to the product, and finally take it to the market. So when the raw material will be purchased, for how many days the raw material will be in the godown, and when the raw material will be released, and when the raw material, one lot of the raw material reaches at the plant, then how many days or hours it takes to move from the, say, to pass through the different stages, and finally to convert that raw material into the finished product. So time management is also very important, because ultimately time is money. If your operating cycle gets lengthier because there is no proper sequencing, there is no proper setups, and setups are not being properly managed and changed over time, so what will happen? A lot of time will be wasted, and every minute wasted, every hour wasted will cause a cost to us in terms of the resources, in terms of the human resources, human hours and machine, as well as the material being used for the production process. So time management is also very important, and we should measure the time required for performing different activities, and we should take care of the time for each and every activity. Next important thing is the resources normally required for performing the various activities. We have to have the proper, all the resources. Number one, we must have all the resources in-house all the times. We have to arrange all the resources, all kind of material should be available with us, all kind of the, say, inputs should be available with us, and when we start the manufacturing process, the process should not get stuck or halted because of the shortage of the one or the other input. All the resources first we have to arrange, and we have to ensure the smoother supply chain of all the inputs. Because of any supply chain problems, because of the logistics problems, if the production process gets stuck or halted, then it's going to create a problem, and say frequent halting of the production process or stucking of the production process causes the wastages, and production cost also increases. Resources required for a desired amount of the output also increase, and that's not in the interest of the say overall production process or the project or the venture as a whole. And next thing is the implications of putting more resources or less resources than are normally required, right. So how much resources normally we require, how much resources we are putting in. We all understand that if you are not giving the sufficient supply of the resources, certainly the production will not be up to the mark, and whatever the production is coming out, that will not be as per the desired quality, and if that is not as per the desired quality, taking to the market will be a challenge. So we have to understand that we have to have the optimum level of resources available with us, neither more than the requirements nor less than the requirements. For example, you talk about the finance. Finance is one important resource for any firm, and finance is like a lifeblood, as the blood is in the human body. So if in the human body, if you have the more amount of the blood or you have the less amount of the blood, will it work? It will not. So we always try to take the good diet, we do the proper exercise, we keep ourselves healthy, we go for walk, we go for proper exercise, so that blood flow is normal, blood circulation is normal, optimum amount of the blood, you can call it as the requirement, as per the requirements is there in the human body. Our HB is measured from time to time. We are having this HB level less than the requirement. So in that case, we are enemy. And if it is more than that, though it's good, but sometimes this high amount of the HB is also not good. So we have to compare the finance in any firm with the blood in the human body. So if you are having the more amount of the finances or the funds invested or available in the firm is overcapitalized. And if it is less than the requirement, the firm is undercapitalized. So both the situations, neither the undercapitalization nor the overcapitalizations are good for the organization, because if it is undercapitalized, it won't be able to generate the required resources. It will not be able to have the sufficient resources, and it would become a challenge for the firm. So there will be frequent halting of the manufacturing process. Sufficient inputs will not be available, supplies will not be available, and maybe suppliers will also not take interest, because we are not able to pay them on time because of the lack of the shortage of the funds available with us. On the other side, if we are overcapitalized, so what will happen? Maybe the financial cost will increase, because these days finance also has a cost. Before liberalization of Indian economy, Indian manufacturers never cared about that finance also has a cost. But these days we are working in a very competitive environment, and every component, every input has a cost. Maybe it's a raw material, maybe it's finances, maybe it's human resources, or maybe it's a space or anything. Every resource, every input has a cost, and funds equally also has a cost. So if any firm is overcapitalized and that much of the utilization of the funds is not taking place, so what will happen? Because of the extra funds involved, because of the firm being overcapitalized, we will be having the negative impacts, right? Return on investment will go down, shareholders will not be feeling very happy, and maybe if you want to borrow money tomorrow because of any reason, even you want to replace that equity component with the borrowed capital, there may be some problems. So all these issues are going to create the problems. So what you have to do is that you have to keep the optimum resources in the firm, all kind of resources, neither less nor more than the requirements. Maybe it's a material, maybe it's utilities, maybe it's auxiliaries, maybe it's the human resources, or maybe it's finance. It has to be at the optimum level and as per the requirement of the firm. If we are able to maintain the optimization in the firm as far as the resources are concerned, so scheduling will also be good, output will also be good, cost will be under control, and finally when you go to the market with the product, means pricing it as per the appropriate cost, it will be easily accepted by the people in the market. So it's very, very important to go for the proper scheduling and have the right amount of the resources in the firm. And last thing is we are going to talk about is the need for considering the alternatives. Alternatives are available and required to be considered at every stage. At every stage, we need to think of the alternatives. You think about that when we talk about the idea generation. We get number of ideas in our mind for setting up a venture, for moving into the business, and for having our own enterprise, having our own business. When we start thinking and applying our mind, we get number of ideas in our mind that should we manufacture this product or generate this service, or that product or that service, should we do this or that or something like that. We do the preliminary initial screening, and then we say that no, this is not good as compared to the other idea, so we consider the second alternative, third alternative, and then we finally zero in on at a level which is going to give us the best results, or maybe the best expected results, right? So alternatives are always important, and in the technical analysis also we have to be very, very careful in considering the alternatives and selecting the best alternative or the best option. So finally we can say that there are alternative ways of transforming an idea into the concrete project, right? Number of ways are there, number of alternatives are there. These alternatives may differ in one or the more of the following say aspects, but finally you have to select the one which is going to give you the best value. Number one, the nature of the project. What kind of the a project you want to have? Should we go for manufacturing of a product, or we should generate a service, or we should go for only e-commerce activities, we should go only for the distribution process, or we should manufacture some intermediary product, or maybe we should act as an ancillary to some bigger firm. What should we do? So what kind of the business we should have? So this all happens at the idea generation stage. Once we have selected one idea and started working on it, and we have already prepared the detailed feasibility report, we have spent a huge amount of resources for preparing DPFR. We have already conducted market and demand analysis, and the results are very positive. We have already done for the technical analysis, and results are very positive. We have already entered into the initial contracts with the suppliers of machinery, raw material, human resources. So it means at that stage no change is possible. So when you want to change, or you want to finally select one product or the service, it has to be at the initial screening stage. And at this stage of idea generation, number of alternatives are in front of us. We should select the one which is going to give us the best output. Next thing is the production process. Multiple technologies are there in the market for manufacturing some products. Some, if you want to manufacture a refrigerator, if you want to manufacture a CTV, if you want to manufacture a washing machine, number of technologies are available in the market, right? Or if you want to become simple an assembler like Kabir Mulchandani and come out with an Akai TV in the market, like Akai TV in the market. Even then you have number of technologies for assembling that product, or maybe having the inputs which are based upon the different technologies. You have to go for which one is going to give you the best results at the minimum price. So production process, while selecting the production process, it has to be user friendly, it has to be manageable as per the cost, it is going to give us the best results, and it is able to use the raw material which is available in and around our say plant, or maybe the business location, and maybe even the human resources also who are going to be hired, they should be able to understand that manufacturing process, production process, and handle that technology, handle those machines. So everywhere you have to think about the alternatives, and they are important for us. Next thing is the product quality. So we have to consider the alternatives, what kind of the product we want to manufacture, because we are into the price sensitive economy as far as the Indian economy is concerned. So are we going to manufacture it for masses, or are we going to manufacture a class product, or are we going to manufacture both? So in that case, even for example, very simple example is that you want to manufacture the ink pens, right? So there can be multiple inks. You can manufacture the blue ink pens, you can manufacture the black ink pens, you can manufacture the red ink pens, right? But the cost may be different, and maybe the process, the technology may be different. So if you want to manufacture the black and blue colors of the ink pens, so in that case the cost may not be very high, because every time changing of the setup is not required, cleaning up of the setup is not required. So because the difference in the blue and black is minimum, so you can save upon the cost as far as the setup change is concerned. But if you want to manufacture from the blue to red, or black to red, or from the blue to purple and black to purple, or maybe from red to purple, in that case you have to spend some extra resources. You have to be very careful in cleaning the setup, and maybe when you are going to manufacture the red ink, or you are going to manufacture the purple ink, you have to be very careful that even iota of the say the mixing of the black color with the red, or maybe with the purple color, can make a difference. People can easily understand, and that kind of the fineness in the color cannot be achieved. So you have to be very careful that what kind of the product you want to manufacture, for whom you want to manufacture the product. Are you going to manufacture it for the masses, or you are going to manufacture it for the class, right? So if you are going to manufacture it for the masses, certainly the cost is going to be comparatively lower. You are able to manage the cost because you are not going to have the specialty products. And if you are going to manufacture it for the classes, or as per their specific requirements, you are going to manufacture the specialty products. In that case, additional resources would be required, cost will be going up. So you have to have in your mind that when you are incurring the extra cost, you have to charge the extra price, and people should be ready to pay for that. So alternatives are multiple in terms of the products also, and in terms of the services also. right? In terms of the services also, number of alternatives are there. So we have to say think about that, and while deciding the product quality, cost and price will go hand in hand. Next thing is the scale of operations and time phasing, right? So scale of operations makes a difference, that's very clear, because economies of large scale production everybody understands. When you go for a production at the large scale, we enjoy the economies of large scale production and per unit cost goes down, right? And if you are manufacturing at the smaller level, you can say that the cost will increase, economies of large scale productions will not possible to be enjoyed, and we will have to pay the price for that. So what we are going to do, scale of operations, and always it happens when it's a new venture, it's not possible to use the fullest capacity in the beginning itself. We start with the 40-50% of the capacity, then we increase to 60-70, then to 80-90% of the capacity. Maximum capacity utilization can be up to 90% if our product is very efficient and going to be very efficient in the market. So when we are going to use the technology, plant capacity, maybe up to 90%, we have to go for the scale of operations. We have to decide it in advance and we have to phase it as per the time. So if our product is very efficient, good in quality, so certainly people will start demanding it in the beginning itself, the moment it is introduced in the market. But if it is not that, you call it as an excellent maybe, and it takes time to get introduced in the market. So growth will take the time, scale of operations will take the time. Accordingly, you have to schedule it, you have to phase it, and finally you have to grow in the market in a very slow and steady pace. So it's another important consideration when you want to grow, what level of the production you want to make and when you want to increase the production. And then next thing is the location. Location also has an alternative. Some people locate it nearer to the sources of raw material. Some people locate it to the at the places where utilities are easily available. Some people locate it near the market, that raw material is not a challenge for me, but say marketing the product, taking it to the market is a challenge to me. So I will locate it near the market. If you locate it in the industrial areas, so all utilities will be at one place. Roads are easily there, transportation is there, electricity is there, water is there. And if you want to locate it near the source of raw material, it has its own advantages and disadvantages. So what do you want to do? Your location has number of alternatives. So everywhere you have the alternatives. For example, all these 5 or 6 steps, you have the alternatives to choose from. In the nature of the project or nature of the business you want to have, number of alternatives are there. Production process and technology, you have number of alternatives in the market. So which one you want to employ, product quality, to whom you want to manufacture, and what should be your final take, that's again a challenge. And scale of operations and time phasing is having a choice. And if you want to grow at a faster pace, for that purpose you have to have the best of the product and at the reasonable price, and location is the last thing where you want to locate the plant. So location, number of alternatives are in your mind. As per your priority, you can locate it and start the production or start the manufacturing process. And finally, when you talk about is the key project linkages, these are the key project linkages, and out of these key project linkages, some important considerations for us are, number one is that you want to do is, first of all, is the production cost. Whatever you do, whatever you produce, the cost of production must be under control. If the cost of production is under control, your selling price will also be under control. And to succeed in a market like India, which is a highly price sensitive market, number one. Second thing, after globalization, supply side has improved like anything. Number of players are there, maybe in any product range or in any product area or in any service area. You think of any product or the service, already the suppliers are there in the market. So you have to compete in that kind of environment, right? And you have to compete in that kind of environment, so you can understand you have to give something different to the people. And if you focus upon the selling price, right? If you focus upon the selling price, I don't say that you don't focus upon the quality. You have to focus upon the quality, you have to focus upon the packaging, you have to focus upon the after sales service also. But number one, first thing is you have to focus upon the selling price. If your selling price is comparable to the existing products or little lesser than the existing products, so you have one step maybe you're already one step ahead of maybe the existing situations or your competitors, and that selling price decision would base upon the production cost. So look at the interlinkages. First of all, you have to focus upon the production cost, and for that process you have to arrange all the maybe inputs at a very reasonable price, and their size of your firm will make a difference. Your location of the business will make a difference. Demand for your product will make a difference, and demand will depend upon what kind of the product or service you are going to manufacture or generate, right? And this all will depend upon the market and demand analysis. If your market and demand analysis, if you have conducted the market and demand analysis properly, in that case this is going to give you the best results. But if the market and demand analysis is defective, so you are going to meet the fate as the anchor fruit bear has met, and the product was rejected by the masses when actually it was given shape, it was manufactured, and the distribution process started. So you have to have the best of the product or the best of the service. The demand should be there. If the demand is there, certainly the size of the business will grow, and location also makes a difference. If all these factors you are going to take care of, certainly the cost of production will be under control. In the same case, your finances are going to play a very important role, because finance also has a cost. If you arrange the funds from the sources where comparatively the cost of funds is lesser, in that case you are able to manage the overall cost of the production. So you have to manage the cost of the production, and for that purpose, apart from this demand, size, location, technology will also play a very critical role. If your technology is very efficient, we understand that efficient technology give you the best of the products at a very lower prices or reasonable prices, and part of the fixed cost will also be added to the product cost in the form of the depreciation. So everything you have to take care of, So your production cost is important. Then on the basis of that you will decide the selling price, and if the selling price is reasonable, that will help you to have the sufficient profitability, right? And ultimately you are going to be in the business because of earning the profits, not incurring the losses. Ultimate objective of yours moving into the business is the maximization of your wealth, maximization of your shareholders' wealth. That is the ultimate objective of any business. Otherwise, you have surplus funds, you can give it to the bank, take the zero risk, and whatever the growth rate is there, it is there. If it is more than inflation, very good. If it is equal to the inflation, good. But if it is less than inflation growth, in that case your money's value is getting down. So that's why you are not happy with your investment in the banks. So that's why you are into the business. You are ready to take extra risk because you want the extra returns, and that extra return would depend upon the profitability of your venture. Profitability will depend upon the cost will depend upon all these factors, and finally, if whatever the production cost is, accordingly you are going to decide the selling price. And if the selling price is something what you decide, if you are able to attain that, if you are able to get that from the buyers of your product or your service, if you are able to get that selling price from the market, certainly you will be able to have the sufficient profitability. So technical analysis, all the facets of the technical analysis have the linkages and interlinkages. Deciding the linkages and interlinkages among us the different components and subcomponents of the technical analysis is very important, and success or failure of any project depends largely upon the market and demand analysis. So both the analysis, market and demand analysis and technical analysis, both are important, and these two analyses will help you to move to the next level of the analysis, and third level of analysis is called as the financial analysis. So after completing discussion on these two analyses, which are based upon the idea we have already generated, and then we have gone for the market and demand analysis and technical analysis, now the next thing we will be discussing and learning about is the financial analysis. So financial analysis will be the subject matter of the next class. So for now we will stop here, and we will meet for the financial analysis, discussion on the financial analysis in the next class. Till then, thank you very much.